year is 1936. Walt Disney was in the middle of development on his first feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. While he was maintaining his business, he noticed that the popularity of his biggest star, Mickey Mouse, was declining, and had a crazy and unique idea to bring him back in the spotlight. The plan? Have Mickey star in an adaptation of the Goethe poem, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. However, unlike any of the cartoons the studio has done before, this one would be a lot more serious and ambitious. A piece that would have the animation be purely controlled by the classical music. Luckily, one day, Walt met composer Leopold Stokowski, whom after a little chat, was happily willing to work for him for free. But even with that, it wouldn't stop the budget to get bigger than the company hoped for because of Walt's demands for a special treatment. However, for Disney, this was not a problem. In fact, this opened up an all-new opportunity to make several segments that share a similar concept to The Sorcerer's Apprentice and combine them into one ultimate concert feature. The result? Well, let's find out. The story. The entire point of the movie is to introduce a unique type of genre in both filmmaking and animation. One that is completely controlled by the music, where the script has been replaced by the music sheet. In terms of how it tells a story, there are 3 different kinds to present this new mixture of animation and music. The first kind is music that exists simply for its own sake, where it would show a series of images that would be interpreted as the visual representation of the sound. The movie would begin with this one with Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. The second tells a definite story, where it would present a linear plot from beginning to end. Of course, there's no better example of this than with The Sorcerer's Apprentice, where a young apprentice played by Mickey Mouse tried performing some magic so that it would do the work for him, but doesn't know how to stop it. The third and the most common one is the kind that, while it has no specific plot, does paint a series of, more or less, definite pictures, where it shows a bunch of characters and what they normally do. Sometimes, these would incorporate a theme to match the music, including the changing of the seasons in Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite, the times of the day in Ponchielli's Dance of the Hours, and the ultimate battle of good and evil with Nine on Bald Mountain and Ave Maria. Separately, all these segments are completely different from one another in terms of tone and style, but together, they illustrate the endless capabilities of the art of animation with music. If there has to be a piece of criticism on this, it would have to be on the Rite of Spring segment. The biggest issue with it is that the pacing feels ridiculously slow. You don't even get the dinosaurs until 10 minutes in, and everything before it is nothing but volcanoes. Then again, that's just nitpicking, and the segment itself is still very well done, along with having a memorably great intense moment. Instead of offering a story, the movie delivers a whole new way of storytelling altogether. The animation. Out of all the films that Disney has ever created, none have ever displayed such masterfully crafted artistry using a wide variety of styles as much as this. This was carefully made by some of the greatest animators of all time in order to bring out all the tricks that they know, along with inventing new ones to get that perfect illusion that they were aiming for. Whether they be literal or abstract, these are some of the greatest examples of Disney animation of the golden era. When it comes to the design and the animation on the characters, it mainly incorporates the classic Disney look that would be used in their Silly Symphony series during the late 1930s and early 1940s. Not as realistic as Snow White or the Blue Fairy, and has a good use of squash and stretch, but still show that the animators have grown more professionally since the early black and white days. However, there are a few exceptions that go for a different look with their characters, like the realistic hell-like depiction of Chernabog and his demons in Nine on Bald Mountain, the scientifically accurate portrayal of the dinosaurs in Rite of Spring, or the many levels of abstract it would go, from the plants in Nutcracker Suite to Toccata and Fugue in D minor. However, in each segment, it holds on to a unique visual element that makes it stand out as one of the best achievements of the medium. In Toccata, it succeeds at making people watching the music. In Nutcracker, it's the use of natural elements and have them dance to the music, whether it be literally or figuratively. In Sorcerer, it's taking a beloved character to a whole new level. In Spring, it's bringing dinosaurs to life in a believable manner. In the intermission, it's turning something like a soundtrack into a character. In the Pastoral Symphony, it's the use of colors and animating mythological creatures. In Dance of the Hours, it's the character animation of having animals perform ballet. And in Nine on Bald Mountain with Ave Maria, it's the innovations of presenting how Chernobog unleashes hell along with some of the strongest use of the multiplane camera. Not only is this film a visual marvel, but it's also one of the greatest achievements in animation. The characters. Technically, there isn't a reason to actually discuss this. Since this is unlike any other feature film, nobody would be considered either a protagonist or an antagonist. They're all just present to move with the music. Actually, that's one of the best components about this as an animated feature. Since there are no sound effects or dialogue heard throughout the segments, the real stars of the feature are not the actors, but the animators, whose drawings of facial expressions and body movements would explain all that you would need to know about the characters. The only time you'd ever hear someone talking would be the little clip after The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
My congratulations, sir.
Congratulations to you, Mickey.
Gee, thanks.
And from the Master of Ceremonies, composer and music critic Deems Taylor. In the original Roadshow version, which you can now find on DVD and Blu-ray, Taylor's role is to inform the audience what they will get themselves into with each segment, giving context on what the animators were going with.
Here on Walpurgis Night, which is the equivalent of our own Halloween, the creatures of evil gathered to worship their master. Under his spell, they dance furiously.
The most you would actually get as a formal character is Mickey himself, who plays an eager apprentice who is over his head when he got control of his master's magic powers. Like in his old cartoons, he can be a little mischievous, but never meant any harm. As for the others, the best way to describe it is similar to the characters of the Disney parks like in Pirates of the Caribbean. We're only shown a glimpse of what they normally do in their lives, and they do their best to make the most out of their short time to have an impact onto the audience. Some can come out as more comedic, like in the ones in Dance of the Hours and the Pastoral Symphony, while others can pose as a massive threat like the T-Rex in Rite of Spring or Chernobog in Nine on Bald Mountain. The movie is not about knowing who these characters are. Their role in the film is to help visually bring the music to life, and they've accomplished this tremendously. Fantasia is one of Walt Disney's greatest animated features he has ever created with his team. The ultimate blend of masterclass animation and beloved classical music would become an entirely unique art form that would take both the medium and filmmaking in general into a whole new level. It's one of the very rare examples that legitimizes that animation is art, not just as a cinematic medium, but on par with painting and sculpture. For any fan of Disney, animation, classical music, or just movies in general, you must watch this. This movie is an accomplishment that would ultimately help creatively shape animation into becoming what it is today. Well, of course it gets the AniMat's seal of approval, there's no question about it. But that is nothing compared to the true achievement it earned as one of the greatest animated films of all time. Hey guys, this is AniMat. I just want to start things off by giving a huge thanks to Micah Mann for his amazing support on Patreon, in which one of his great rewards included a request for me to go and review Fantasia. And I know some of you are probably surprised right now to think that, considering that this is my favorite movie, I actually did not give it a perfect score. Like, I didn't go like 10, 10, 10, and then ultimately 10. I mean, yes, I did give it a 10 out of 10, but it's not everything a 10 out of 10. And there is a good explanation for this. Even though, yes, this is my favorite movie, I will say, though, that it doesn't mean that I'm going to give it a perfect score. That means, for me, it is absolutely perfect and stuff like that. At least for me, as a critic, there is a fine line between a personal favorite and also what is a good movie in general. And I am aware that Fantasia may not necessarily be for everyone, and technically, as a movie in itself, it does have a little bit of flaws, like the one that I've mentioned before regarding the pacing of Rite of Spring, since it is one of the longest segments in there, and the way that it starts out, yeah, it can be pretty slow. But I do feel like it is a part of the process in loving a movie, where you do acknowledge that maybe it's not perfect, that there are a little bit of flaws here and there. But with that said, when you do see the flaws, there is also another step that you can learn to accept it, and even with that, there are some good things that it has done. Like, even with the volcano segment in the Rite of Springs, despite being really slow, it is still very well made, and a great example of effects animation where you see all the bubbles in the lava popping out, and then suddenly the giant eruption at the end of that little part right over there. So it's all in the process of just loving loving a movie in general, or just loving anything in general. Like, even if you would be with a significant other, you would acknowledge that maybe this person would have flaws and stuff like that, but you'll still love that person regardless. You'll learn to accept it and see some benefits with those flaws. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely adore Fantasia. I acknowledge maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's not for everyone, it can have a little bit of issues, but I accept it, and I just see the whole picture as a whole, and it really is such a beautiful film. It seriously is. I mean, just the execution in the animation, the way that it choreographs perfectly with the music, it's just absolutely wonderful. It is mesmerizing. I just cannot get enough of it, and especially the way that it really is unique. And I mean, sure, there are a few movies that are similar to it, like, of course, Fantasia 2000, and then there's also the Italian parody Allegro non troppo, which is another fantastic movie, by the way. Another of my personal favorites, actually. But yeah, that's kind of the big thing with Fantasia, is that there's nothing else like it. You're not going to see a movie that's going to be in the similar platform of Fantasia, and you cannot get that experience anywhere else. And that's part of the big reason why I absolutely adore Fantasia. It is just absolutely beautiful, and honestly, I think I've made a great choice to make that as my favorite movie. Also, it does make me curious, however, if that would actually explain a lot about my personal taste in movies and stuff like that. You know, it does make you think, actually. Like, I mean, does it say a lot about a person when they would mention to you about their favorite movies or something like that? But anyways, enough about Fantasia right now. It is now time that we shall go and move on to the animation hat. And before I go, I just want to go and start out by saying that if you guys would like to be like Micah and you want to go and support my work and get some awesome rewards at the same time, including seeing my videos before anyone else, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. However, at the same time, if you guys would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and I would put onto the animation hat, then all you have to do is write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Okay, so with all that said, sadly the thing is that it could be possible we're just going to be going downhill from here because, like, I started out with my favorite movie, and it's one of the greatest animated features of all time, so how is this going to step up the game? Well, let's just see what it is first. So the next review shall be... okay. Oh, wow. Okay, we got another really interesting one, actually. Not necessarily as, popular as Fantasia, but this is gonna be really interesting. Like, I honestly don't know what to say about it. I've heard a lot about it, but, the best way that I could describe this is just that a lot of people tell me that this is a mixture of a Goofy movie with heavy metal. What does that mean? Well, not even I know, but let's find out!
And now we'll have a 15-minute intermission.